The Prince of Persia series became big when The Sands of Time was released. Mixing impossible acrobatics with combat and time travel, The Sands of Time was known as one of the best in the series. After not as praised sequels, Ubisoft decided to try out a new formula, and the result is this game, simply known as Prince of Persia. On Prince of Persia, you control the prince, which, by the way, isn't really a prince, and you never find out his real name. He's lost in a sandstorm looking for his donkey when he first meets this game's partner, a princess named Elika, who's being chased by her father's guards.
Hi.
After a few chases and combats that work as a tutorial, you see Elika's father unleash the dark god Ahriman right in front of you. To put Ahriman back to wherever he was trapped inside, you must travel through the corrupted lands without touching the deadly good called the Corruption, defeat their guardians known as the Corrupted, and purify the area. You also have to collect shiny orbs named Light Seeds that allow you to unlock 4 special powers for Elika. At first, her only use out of battle is to give you a double jump, but as you unlock these abilities, you'll be able to fly, leap through the air, and even sprint on walls and ceilings. The controls are pretty sharp and easy to learn. You have the movement keys, the acrobatic button which includes jump and dodge, the Elika button which does everything related to Elika, from the double jump and special powers to a GPS-like power that helps you find out how to get to the place you want, the gauntlet button which uses the prince's gauntlet for climbing, swinging and throwing enemies in the air, the sword button, and the defense button which also works as the button to drop down.
I hope this isn't poisonous.
The acrobatics are impressive to see and incredibly fun to perform, and the way the prince moves is so smooth it actually looks like defying gravity and running through cities is actually possible. Rarely will you see a situation where the controls get in your way.
No, you're heavier than you look.
Still talking about acrobatics, the freedom the game gives you to improvise is amazing. Unlike some other games, Uncharted 2, if you look at something and you could technically reach that within the control's limits, then you can reach it. There's usually a main way to follow, but nothing forbids you to go crazy and try something else instead. Actually, sometimes if you fail an acrobatic, you have to improvise to survive. Talking about survival, Prince of Persia came up with an interesting way to avoid a game over screen. Every time you die in battle or doing an acrobatic, Elika will come to your aid. In case of the combat, the time she takes to protect you and bring you back is used by the enemy to recover itself. They don't necessarily recover it all, but it's enough to give the game a good challenge. If you fall down to your death doing an acrobatic, Erika will pull you back to the last stable platform you stepped on. This not only gives you more freedom to risk your life doing crazy acrobatics, but avoids the frustration of taking 1 minute to get off the game over screen and try 2 minutes acrobatic again.
Good job, someone's looking over you.
Even if you touch the corruption, Erika will pull you back. The combat has a pretty interesting feature. You have the attack buttons, sword, gauntlet, acrobatic and magic, and the defense button. With the defense button you can block or try a parrying move that gives you the chance to counter. With the 4 attack buttons you can come up with practically any combo you can think of, from the simple hack and slash with the sword to something more complex. Unfortunately, the combat is where the game fails. It's incredibly fun to fight and create combos, but other than the bosses, the fights are short, since whenever the enemy gets close to a wall or an edge, you instantly do a finishing move, and since the battles most of the time take place on a small arena, you won't even have the time to finish your first combo. The other problem with the combat is Erika. She never gets in your way during the whole game, but when it comes to combat, she's way too specific on how close you must be to the foe to strike. If you're too far, which usually means just a few steps from sword's reach, she'll do the whole leap on your back and prepare to jump animation just to say get closer, and all this time wasted usually means a blade in the face.
Your face.
There's also a problem with the flying power. It basically keeps throwing things in your face at random without warning. And since you're flying and spinning all the time, sometimes it's hard to find out how you're supposed to dodge. Also, they're usually long and boring, so if you don't see that last wall, you have to do it all over again and you will regret it. The graphics are obviously great. The mix between cel shading and realism create beautiful scenarios, and you'll never get tired of walking through them. There's actually a way to warp through purified lands, but I honestly never used it. Monkeying my way through is always more enjoyable. The sound is good, but I always have the impression that the game's soundtrack is composed of one song only. It doesn't feel repetitive though, it's just something to listen while you're playing around looking for the light seeds. My final word on the game is play it. Some people might say that the no game over makes the game easy, but I don't know since when the challenge is measured by the number of game over screens. But it's true though that the most challenging moments in the game aren't that challenge, so it's unlikely that you ever get stuck. Collecting light seeds might sound like just another fetch quest with backtracking, but since it forces you to go to places that you didn't go when you had to purify the land, and some of them are in pretty tricky places, it doesn't feel like playing backtracking. It's the kind of game that everyone needs to try out at least once.